Hey buddies, welcome to Amass Games. My name is Simon, and today I'm bringing you how to set up, play and review the game poker, in particular the version Texas Hold'em. So poker kind of originated in 1810, but Texas Hold'em poker, which is my favorite version of the ones I'm currently playing, has been basically around since the 1930s, and the poker boom, again particularly for Texas Hold'em poker, was around 2003 to 2006. So the aim of the game is to kind of get the best amount of money, the best pot, the best chips, the most tokens, whatever you want to play with, or points compared to your opponents. And it's played over a number of hands. You can play as few as you like. I've played about 25,000 and it's easy to track, particularly online. But what you're trying to do is playing with a standard deck of cards. As you can see, these are standard bicycle cards, or these aren't bicycle, these are other kind of cards. And these are just, these are lightweight cards. They are sort of laminate finish. Obviously you can't easily mark them or tear them or deface them, so as with any card game you don't want to really know what these cards are. So aside from that, again, you're playing with these standard 50 deck of cards. You can play with jokers, one or more wild cards are available, but not in Texas Hold'em. And the object of the game is to win the pot, which contains all the bets of the players who've basically been playing into the deal. So we'll be talking about some terminology which you might hear, particularly if you're playing online and there are some automation going on. So this game is going to be on Boardgamearena. It's currently in alpha as I record this. And again, please check out the other videos. There's a whole bunch of playlists you can see specific to different types of videos. Hit the thumbs up, hit that notification bell to subscribe to check out all the new videos coming along, as well as also other board games in addition to checking out the comments, and I reply very quickly. And I do put loads of things in the description in due course. So in Texas Hold'em, you're playing with a hand of 5 cards. 3 are going to be here, known as the pre-flop, and 2 are going to be in front of you face down initially, and they're called your hole cards. So everybody else is going to have these kind of hole cards in front of them. And I'll talk to you about how the suits work in a moment, but first and foremost, I'm just letting you know that you can have some cards out in front of you like this. And in terms of the number of players, it's 2 plus, it's 2 to 10 typically, but 3 to 5 is quite standard just because it gives you a bit more variety of who's there and without taking too long on what else people are doing. So you don't need to use chips. You can use chips. Again, if you're playing online, it's all taken care of, but chips are nice, clacky things to hold. It's like doing this and playing around, and I do have some splendid chips I could show you as an example, but just to give you an overview of what this game is like. As the majority of people watching this, if you're watching this virtually, you're probably playing virtually as well, potentially. So let's just talk to you through about those different kind of cards. Again, the cards that you have in front of you, you're trying to see if you can do better than your opponent. Now, this is quite an interesting hand. Again, this is a random hand. I just randomly shuffled the cards. I'll show you what I might want to do with this hand. So let's talk to you about the suits and basically the different categories of cards you can have. Now the highest one doesn't work in Texas Hold'em, and that's basically because we're not playing the jokers, but that is called 5 of a kind, where you have 4 of a kind and a joker. So let me give you an example of 4 of a kind. We have 4 here, and the reason I've picked 2 is it doesn't make any difference. 2 is actually the lowest. So if somebody else had, if you had with 2 decks of cards, which is a whole other game, then if you had a higher number, then you'd be winning. 2 is our lowest cards in the deck in Texas Hold'em. Aces are the higher, which I'll come back onto. But also I want to show you that in some games, typically ace is the highest suit, followed by hearts, clubs, and then diamonds. So what is the highest in Texas Hold'em? It is a straight flush. A flush is when you have 5 cards of the same suit, and a straight is when they are all in sequential value. So ace is the highest, followed by king, queen, and jack, and depending where you live, you might not call it a J, Q, or a K, but that's how they look. So that would be a straight flush. Now somebody else might have a straight flush. If they happen to have, again, a spade, but of course it might be a lower value one, say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then this of course would beat it. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in spades, whatever suit. Be aware that you might have an extremely strong hand, but there is a chance that somebody else might have a straight flush too. So what you're betting, which I will come back onto, it really varies on what you want to be choosing to put down. That comes to something called an expected value. I'll come back to that in due course. So what do we have up next? That's that first category. The next one up is 4 of a kind. So what does a 4 of a kind look like? Well, let me just grab some cards I've already prepared for you and show you what they look like too. So we'll come back to this already. This is 4 of a kind. It's the second highest value you can get. And again, if you happen to have 4 nines, that is going to be beating this set as well. So there's multiple things to do it. Very hard to get 4 of a kind. It's very uncommon as well. Next up is a fairly common one, and that is a full house. That's a 3 of a kind and a 2 of a kind. Again, if someone's got 3 10s in a pair, this is called a pair, or 2 of a kind, then that would beat it. So a full house is pretty common. It's not that uncommon to get it. It's obviously not in every hand you're going to get. And then we're moving down from that, we're going to go on to a flush. A flush, again, is, talked about this already, it's when you have 5 cards all in one suit, but it might not be, obviously, a straight. So there we go, that's 5 cards, all the same thing, and it's something you might end up picking up on. So what do we have next? Well, moving down from that, we have 3 of a kind. So we have 3 of a kind. You have got 3 cards, all of the same value, all different suits. Again, if someone else has 3 of a kind and it's higher, then be wary of that. So the higher you have, if you have a 9s compared to, I don't know, if you have jacks, then you're feeling more stronger that you're going to win 3 of a kind. But of course, if someone has a 2 and a 2, then they're a bit more wary that that 3 of a kind isn't as strong. But if you have 3 2s, then that is better than, say, a 2 pair. So a 2 pair could be that, 2 aces and 2 9s. There we go, I want to bring the ace of spades into play. So be aware that even that low value 3 aces, excuse me, got the 4 there, that would still beat it. So be aware of your different categories. Coming down from that, so we've talked about 2 pair, we have 1 pair. Again, be aware that you want to have the highest rank possible. So be aware that you might have 2 pairs, but you might have 2 2s and 2 3s. As fine as that is, be aware that lots of things could beat it in the 2 pair series. So then you have 1 pair, well, of course, nothing can beat 1 pair. Again, 2 aces is the ultimate thing you can get. You've got a 1 in 220 chance of getting 2 aces in your pocket pair. Pocket full of aces, it might be known as ace in the hole, stuff like that. And finally, a high card. So again, if you have an ace, and that is the most common thing that you're going to get in a standard round of poker, you're just going to be playing off your highest card based on typically the distribution of what's going to be in your flop, and see what comes up. So that is something to be aware of. I've won games and it's fairly frequent to win it with a king, a jack, a 10, an ace. So what I'm trying to say with you is whatever cards get dealt out, it's still worth potentially just, you know, at least you've got like a 10 higher or maybe a 9 higher, you'd still well be winning that hand. The big thing about poker is not to try and win every hand. And of course, with luck and distribution, randomness, there are times where you will be getting, you know, these fantastic cards. And I happen to, it was kind of like with fake money, but went over £1.5 million using these pocket aces. I happened to do well in that instance. So you have a slightly higher chance, but compared to everything else, depending on what's there as well, there's so many things to play for. So it's all about how much you choose to bet. If you bet very highly on these cards, that's fine, but you're betting your own money. And if they think you're betting high amounts, then you won't be doing very well because they're thinking you've got great cards. So it's all about trying to win when you don't have good cards. So I'll come back onto that in a moment. But let me just talk to you a little bit about the draw. So we're talking about 5 cards at poker here. You can also play with the lowest value cards, that's called Raz, so you're trying to get the lowest values. There are other things as well whereby you're trying to maybe get a split, so you're trying to get the highest and the lowest value as well. And there are various forms of poker, such as no limit Hold'em poker. So no limit Texas Hold'em poker is used in the World Series of Poker. So you're going to have 2 cards face down, and after a betting interval, 3 community cards. So we're going to draw some 3 cards now. Oh, sorry about that. This was because I'm using the other deck, which I think is also the Joker. We're going to see what we have. So we're moving slightly into shot. So this is what we have. So again, my pocket cards here were extremely good actually. If we have a look at them again, because right now, based on that pre-flop, nobody else can see that, remember, is already I've got 2 pair, 2 2s and 2 3s. Again, that's not a great thing compared to other ones, but it's not bad by all means. Additionally, I might be trying to work, because it works quite well for strategy I'll tell you about. I have a 2, a 3, I have a 5. I could try and go for a straight, which is even better if one of these cards is a 4. So now this is a random cards that I chose to draw out, and I choose to do that particularly to kind of talk to you a bit more about the rest. So now we're going to do what's called a blind bid. So before we saw these cards, there's going to be a blind bid, and it's basically to ensure anyone who wants to play is going to be in that game. So to do that, you'll be putting in your blind bid, And there's what's called a button, and it's basically a white plastic disc that's to the left of the dealer typically, and that's going to go around each individual hand, and you're chucking in the minimum amount. It might be, you know, a penny or 5 pennies or something, and then you have a doubling of that bid as well, and it's going to be going round and round and round until everyone's put in a bid, just to say, look, there's a minimum amount you have to play, even if you're now going to cave in. So you've got your cards. You could choose to skip them and say, no, I'm not going to give any more money in, or I'm not going to chuck any more of my cash, because of course everyone has to decide to know that cash at the beginning. But typically you don't want to do that, because every hand you could potentially win with. So even though these are low value cards, based on what's come out in the pre-flop, that's actually pretty good. You know, we've got this 2 pair going on. What on earth could be these 2 cards? Well, this card is going to be called the turn. That card's going to become the river, and it could strengthen my hand. It could influence who I want to be betting with. Now, there's something that I haven't studied in terms of the mathematics behind it, but it is essential for poker, and that is called the expected value. What it's saying is the amount of money that I'm putting down equal to the chance it is that I'm going to win something. Now, of course, with other people who know poker, they of course will also know the expected value. They won't know what your cards are, but they can kind of think, well, if you want to put down that based on algebra, these are your valued cards. So because of that, that's where the element of bluff comes into it. It's like, well, okay, I'm going to try and bid this, assuming I have this. But if they've got 2 kings or something, then equally, they're going to feel quite strong that you probably don't have 2 kings. Well, especially if there's a king in play. So hopefully that's making a bit of sense, and hoping it's starting to stick a bit. And apologies if I've goofed anywhere. Again, this is a one-shot video. So once you've had this round of betting, then of course you're then going to decide what you want to be doing. So right now you can check, which is basically saying, right, you've put in some money, fine. I'm going to equal that bet. So someone chucks in, I don't know, 3 coins, they chuck in 3, so I check as well, I chuck in 3 coins, saying, yeah, okay, fine, so it is. I could raise the bet, I could say I chuck in 5 coins. And then something goes, oh, maybe he's got good cards. They fold, they follow with 5, they raise to 8, and then I can raise or whatnot, etc. Okay, so then what we're going to be moving on to is you're then going to move on to the next card, as I said, which is called the turn. So once that round of betting's done, you're moving on to the 4th card. It's the 4th shared card, and it's the 9. So right now, there's nothing for us. So again, there's another round of betting, and again, we might start seeing more people folding because actually they haven't got much out there. Based on these cards, of course, I've still got my 2 2s, I've got my 2 3s, I've got 2 pair. I could be getting a full house. So I could still be getting my straight, I could be getting my full house. So I have a few options. I might raise my bet slightly. We do more raise of betting, more people folded out. Let's say they folded out. We don't know what these cards were. They don't have to ever be revealed, even after a success has been made to the thing. The last card is a 7. So it doesn't help us. We have got that 2 pair, and now we've got all 5 cards in play. The pre-flop, we have the turn, and we have the river. And now we're thinking about, you know, do we want to be betting, etc., or just folding because we don't know what's going to go on? We're going to stay in the game. So we're going to bet, and again, it could be a no-limit hold'em, it could be, you know, a certain pot. And the thing is, if you commit too much, you could be well out of the game, because let's say it was $100 or something, you've put in all 100, you've gone all in or whatever. If you lose, then, well, that's it. You're either winning all that money if you lost, and then you're going to be either in and be able to play with other players in the next hand or not. So let's reveal and see what they have. So they have got a 4. Oh dear, so that's interesting because they've now got 2, 3, 4. We've got 1 of the 5s. They've also got 4 of the spades. And let's just see what else they have. Oh, got a joker. So we didn't know, of course, they weren't bidding, and they've got a jack. So apologies, there are 2 decks of cards. These are the blue decks, this is the red deck. I took out the jokers from the other one, shuffled them, and I couldn't be sure where the other one was. So in this instance, they won because they have got a flush. So a flush is higher than a 2 pair. In this instance, however much we put in, we lost. And for that reason, we obviously would have considered that, and maybe wouldn't have put in too much money, but equally, you know, as much as a 2 pair is a strong hand, you know, a typical round of poker, it shows you how, with what cards can be there, a better hand too. So right now, this person probably wouldn't have bet much early on because they're 2, 3, 4. There's a bit of a way to go. They need a 5 and a 6, because this is the trouble with a straight. Moving on strategy now. You're starting off with the one end of a straight, which means you can only hope for a 4 and a 5. Where if we had a 4, 5, 6, then of course you have either options, 4, 5, 6, 7, you have an 8, or you have a 3. So there's more options, doubling the chance of you getting what you need. Again, you don't know what's there. And also, we know that this person didn't have access to those spades early on, so they just about stayed into that game and hoped something would be good. And again, there's always a pair that everyone's going to be getting anyway. Now, what do these people have? Again, it's completely randomness, all quite low value cards. So this person, 2, 3, 4, so 2, 3, 4, 5. So they were getting closer in on that one, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the one away, they probably got on quite strong, hoping to get 6. Again, there's 4 6s, so they're hoping to get it in one of 8 chance in a way. I think I've got my maths wrong there. And finally, we have over here, so not much going on there. And those are those cards. And then this person had another 4, so all the 4 are pretty much out, almost. And yeah, so they wouldn't have, they were chasing after, hoping there's a 5, I mean, I had the 5 there. So this instance was quite handy because as interesting as I wanted a 4, there were 3 hoovered up in hands, and that's basically the game. So hopefully that was something of interest, and hopefully I haven't goofed up too much. It makes a general amount of sense. And again, please check out the other playlists for other games, but that has been Texas Hold'em Poker, and you can try it out. Free to play, I don't suggest you play with money. I have met professional poker players who've won and lost lots of money. I don't know even if they do it full time anymore. And it's a game you should definitely be only enjoying and be gamble aware, and do not imply or recommend you play with real money. Having said that, you will find less randomness with players just chucking down any old random cards and hoping to bet and win, which is what I tended to do if just playing around. But it's something to learn and of interest, and it's fun to play. Well, thanks very much. Speak soon. Bye for now.